All right, and welcome to Hat Trick Sports Talk. Our weekly Friday show is back again. I'm here as always with Brandon and Shane. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Good, good. Brandon, you?
Pretty good.
Good. We were recording this around 11:14 p.m. Pacific time, and let's get
AM.
started. Or a.m. Yes, a.m. My apologies. Um, and let's get started, of course, with Thursday Night Football, as we always do with the Bears and the Bucks. Brandon, I'll go to you with that game in Chicago. What were your thoughts on that one?
So I think as we talked about last night, Robert, you know, first of all, I just want to say I think it was a surprising showing for a Thursday night football game. Usually those games just feel like they've just kind of been like thrown on the trash pile and been like, fine, we have to do a primetime game, so here you can have Bucks Bears. I feel like it was probably one of those games that they were just like, hey, let's have Tom Brady be like on quote unquote prime time. Um, I think a lot of it was pretty slow considering there was only one receiving touchdown in the entire game. Um, and everything else was just kicking field goals. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not really used to Tom Brady getting to the end zone, to the red zone, and not being able to finish it. Um, and then on the other side, man, uh, the Bears just they may be 4-1, but they don't look like it.
So here's my thoughts. One with the Bucks. What do we always say? What have we always said about Brady his whole Patriots career? We've always said one thing: get pressure on him. And what do the Bears have? They have Khalil Mack, and they have a great defensive line that can get pressure on an O line that, let's be honest, is a little overrated. This O line is not very good in Tampa. So they got pressure, and it made Brady really flustered. He had a touchdown to one of I believe their third string tight end in the back of the end zone. He missed the throw because he got hit on his left arm, and he completely missed the throw because of it. And it wasn't just the sacks; it was them making him uncomfortable, putting him like pushing him outside the pocket a little bit more, and just flustering a lot of his throws, especially in the red zone. And then with the Bears, I get so frustrated watching the Bears. Not because I know what they are defensively. Again, we know they're a very good defense. But my biggest problem with the Bears is that they should be better offensively than they are. They have a lot more talent offensively than I think we give them credit for. It's just that Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky obviously being the worst of the two, that they just don't showcase the talent on the team. Like, it was so annoying in the first quarter to see Nick Foles just constantly throw the ball to Allen Robinson. And then pretty much throughout the whole game, it was just Allen Robinson and then Darnell Mooney, who's been a pretty good player for them over the last few weeks. What was a fifth rounder that they got him at. It's just annoying to like spread the ball around a little bit more, get to Jimmy Graham a little bit more. Don't just use him in the red zone. David Montgomery had a good day catching. Obviously, the running game's been a little rough, but they've played some top 5 rush defenses over the last few weeks. Just spread the ball around more. I feel like it's that simple with Nick Foles. Just spread the ball around more. And not to forget Anthony Miller as well, who his role's been a little diminished, unfortunately. But it's like, just spread the ball around a little bit more. Get other players involved. And I think that will get this offense moving a little bit better than it did. Because even when it was moving, it still looked a little bit flustered to me. Shane, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think the one of the issues with Foles in this offense is, we've seen him go around to so many different teams, and he is kind of hit or miss depending on which franchise he goes to. Let's be honest. I mean, he hasn't really worked out in most places other than Philadelphia, if at all. um, And so I think it's only his second or third game with the Bears starting, and so I just I think part of it is that he might need a little time to just kind of mesh with this offense, and because there's no preseason or anything, so he's coming out pretty raw. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably part of the problem, because when you look at his connection with Robinson or whatever, he does look pretty good. I think he just needs to, like you said, spread the ball around a bit more. But and I think if he did that, they would be. I mean, not that they're a bad team; they're 4-1, but they would be a much more convincing 4-1. Or I think they would, actually give teams a lot of trouble, because like you said, defensively, they're pretty solid. It's just offense. I think they need to figure a few things out. And no, Foles, he's not a franchise guy, but I think he is a good bridge guy at least. So I don't know if they'll look to draft somebody, or probably not at this point since they're doing pretty well. But anyways,
I mean, that's the biggest problem, is that Foles is the bridge guy, and this team needs a actual franchise quarterback. Because if this team has an actual franchise quarterback, they're a Super Bowl contender. That's just the reality with their defense.
probably.
But Brandon, what are your thoughts on Foles in this offense?
So first, I just want to say, I think one of the issues that we're not taking into account with the Bears is who exactly do they have as wide receiver, right? They're not exactly stacked.
No, they're underrated. No, they're underrated. They are stacked. They are
really.
stacked.
No, I mean,
they are. Like,
I wouldn't say they're
disagree.
stacked.
I disagree with you, Robert. Like, I disagree with you in your hatred for Nick Foles, because I actually think Nick Foles is better than people give him credit for. You said he's streaky. I think Nick Foles is in a position where he's learning. I think Nick Foles had a hell of a better game.
I don't want him to learn.
Tom Brady.
I don't want him to learn. I want him to do.
He did not look streaky to me last night at all.
I'm talking about his career. So when I said streaky last night, my point is his career is just a roller coaster. And in games like last night, show how much of a roller coaster he is. The first quarter, they couldn't do anything offensively. And then for the last 3 quarters, yeah, he was good. But, let's be completely honest. They cannot win consistently with Foles at quarterback. Obviously, they can't win consistently with Trubisky at quarterback. But he cannot be doing this. He cannot be doing a roller coaster thing where 1 quarter he's good and the last 3 he is. He needs to actually be consistent. I think this wide receiving core is much better than people give it credit for. I love Jimmy Graham. He's playing phenomenally this year, considering what we projected him to do. I feel like it's on Foles to make this offense work and nobody else, and I don't think he is. Yes, I think you're right in the sense that he is playing better, but I can't have this be a week-to-week thing. It either has to work or it doesn't, because Chicago has bigger aspirations than we think they should. But go ahead and finish your point, Brandon.
So I would argue that so the whole thing about him being streaky, right? He's played for here. Let's just talk about the teams this man has played for. He played for the Eagles, where he won a Super Bowl, right? Played really well. He beat Tom Brady, or Philly special, yada, yada, yada. He played for the Rams, the Chiefs when they sucked, the Jaguars when they sucked,
and the Rams when they sucked.
And now the Bears. Yeah, the Rams when they sucked. It ain't his fault that he's quote-unquote streaky. He has played for shitty teams with shitty wide receivers and no one for him to throw it to. And you could make the argument that even if you looked at his stats, which I to be fair, I haven't gone super in depth on his stats, but it's right here. His touchdown to interception ratio in his career as of week 5, he is 76 touchdowns for 38 interceptions. Like, as a quarterback, he is reliable. Is he a Tom Brady in his prime? No. Is he a Russell Wilson right now? No. Is he an Aaron Rodgers? No. But I would take Nick Foles over tons of quarterbacks in the league who are starting right now.
And here's the thing too, because Robert, you were saying that he needs to be good now. I don't know that I agree with that necessarily, because I mean, if you look at it, it's not like they're 2-3 or something and they need to bounce, but no, they're doing okay. They're fine. You consider his situation, he had no OTAs, no preseason. I mean, this is like when he hopped in against the Falcons in week 3, that was his first time in a game situation with Chicago ever. Okay, he's not gonna click right away. I mean, look at Brady. I mean, he's struggling in this new offense, and he's the greatest of all time. So you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna things aren't just gonna click right away, especially when you have no preseason or anything like that. But I think if you give him, 2 or 3 weeks, then maybe things will start to connect a little more, and then he'll start to be more consistent. But I mean, I know what you mean though, because I do think that they, in the next few years, they should probably be looking at like a franchise guy, because Foles, I mean, what is he, 30, 31, something like that. And I don't think he's going to be one of those guys who's going to play really well until he's like 40, so yeah, I don't know. To me, he's like, you know what he is to me? To me, he's like a younger Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That's basically his career, yeah.
But like a little better.
Or maybe a Brian Hoyer type.
Well, no, he's better than
Nah.
that. But
He is better than that, I will say that.
Yeah. But anyways.
Look, I will say that this criticism, as you guys pointed out, is semi-unfair. But for me, it's because I expect more from Chicago. I do, because I think they have talent around that offense, and that defense is so good. And I cannot tell you how. So remember Jacksonville, right? Remember Jacksonville when they made the AFC title game, and obviously Foles much better than Blake Bortles, no question. I look at that Jacksonville situation in that year when they won the AFC title game, and then the year after, and I just think the Bears are in basically that same position, because I look at the Bears and I go, hey, defense, right? Like Saxonville, right? They had a top 5 defense. This defense is top 5. Now, they haven't performed like top 5. They even showed on the broadcast since 2018. But why haven't they performed top 5? It's because they're put in precarious situations because of this offense. I understand that it might be a bit unfair to put all the criticism on Foles. Obviously, a lot of it probably should be on Matt Nagy. But the reality of the situation is I think that this defense is just frustrated. And at some point, it's going to boil over. And that might not entirely be on Foles. It probably shouldn't be. So to be fair, to be honest, I should say, it is a little bit unfair. But the reality is I expect more from this offense, because this defense to me is getting frustrated, and eventually it's just going to be like, we're done. Do you get what I'm saying? That's where I have an issue. Yeah. Ultimately, if you're looking at the big picture, that's the big picture issue here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I do think that, because I agree with you. I think that they're, I mean, their receivers aren't like, they're not stars or anything, but I do think that they're pretty underrated. And so, I mean, I think that, if they have, because I mean, you look at their quarterback situation. I mean, if they were able to make the playoffs with Trubisky under center, I mean, like, dude, come on. They're gonna, they're gonna, with Foles, it's like, okay, they're 4-1 now. It's like, okay, they're probably gonna remain, I don't want to say consistent, but they're gonna keep winning throughout the year. And then come playoff time, it'll be interesting to see if we get some of that Foles playoff magic or whatever. But yeah, anyways.
Here's the biggest thing to close out the Bears part of this game. What are the Bears defensive ranks right now? Are they in the top 10 defensive ranks or no? I'm not
In terms
exactly
of like
just overall ranks. Where are they overall ranked right now?
let me check.
Because I think that's really important.
I mean, I imagine they're pretty high, but I don't know. Okay, let's see. So total points, they are, oops.
Bears D, position rank 9, basically. Okay.
2, 3.
So they are technically top 10, pretty much.
They're
Yeah,
16th in points.
That's confusing to me that they could be top 10 when every game they've won has been, well, every single game this year has been within
Yeah.
a touchdown.
Yeah, so maybe they're not exactly top 10, maybe they're 15.
They beat the Lions by 4, they beat the Giants by 4, they beat the Bears by 4. They lost to the Colts by 8, and then they beat the Buccaneers by 1.
So here's my point. The point is that I'm using the rankings as an example. I mean, we're not totally prepared for that, which is okay. But I mean, I wasn't expecting to make this point necessarily. But my point stands is that they were top 5 in 2018, and they've consistently gone down in rankings because if you had a franchise quarterback there, they probably would finish top 5 easily defensive wise. Because the offense wouldn't move down the field and the defense wouldn't have to be on the field as much as they are.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get as tired out. And that's part of the problem is the defense has progressively gotten worse, not because of the actual talent on the defense, even though they have lost some pieces due to opt-outs and things of that nature. It's still a very good defense regardless of that. It's still a top 5 defense regardless of that. But the reality is they're just on the field too much. Like Khalil Mack was productive and he's been productive this year, but he can be even more productive if that offense can be more consistent or at least move the ball more often. And that's where the need for a franchise quarterback is. The Bears are a perfect example of it right now.
Who would they get though?
I would say it would probably be Justin Fields. I think Fields probably would fall to them if they.
Yeah, because I was gonna say they'd probably have to draft somebody unless there's, depending on what happens with free agency.
I mean, I would say the likely spot is Fields, but I don't know. I think Fields might still go in the top 10, and I don't think they're going to be top 10. I think they may have to trade up, but again. You traded up to get Trubisky. How? I mean, obviously it was a different regime with John Fox, but is this organization really willing to trade up in the first round, or even get into the first round? Because I don't know if they do have a first round pick this year with all the trades that they've made. But are they willing to give up capital, and how much capital they really have to move up? So that's maybe it's Trey Lance. Maybe it's Trey Lance in like the second or third round, maybe. Potentially, who knows?
I always wonder how Bears fans feel knowing that they took Trubisky before Watson and Mahomes.
Yeah, there's a really great piece. I forgot who to give this credit for, but I'll let you guys know. On Bleacher Report, there is an amazing piece on how the Bears drafted Trubisky. And it's a very good piece. I forgot who wrote it, so my apologies to her. But Go on Bleacher Report and just search up like Trubisky draft or whatever, and you will find that came out a couple weeks ago. Very interesting essay on why John Fox and the Bears organization drafted Trubisky. And then moving on to the Buccaneers, Brandon, I'll go to you because Brady made a rookie mistake last night.
Yeah, I think I feel like that when you think about it, it's kind of on par with Brady and how he tends to, at times, get, I would say, overexcited. Like he gets very like go, we're gonna win, like and he just I've definitely seen him do that before, where he's gone for a big chunk play when it was like a 4th down, and he thought it was 3rd.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just popped in my mind. Like I remembered that I've seen that happen before. And it's interesting because I forget who it was, but I saw someone talking about this last night. I think they tweeted it out about how this is an example of Brady not benefiting from being with Belichick, and how Belichick kind of kept everything like locked down, like very like in order, whereas Bruce Arians is very loosey goosey and just like doesn't, like, everybody's kind of doing their own thing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was an interesting statement, and I feel like it is fair because I'm starting to realize that the fact is Tom Brady did benefit from being with from being with Bill Belichick. I personally think in this situation right now, Tom Brady leaving is making me realize just how good of a coach Bill Belichick is. You know,
seeing how successful New England is now. You know, they have other than Cam, they pretty much have the same team as they did last year, and they looked very sloppy last year, but now with Cam, I thought, well, this isn't going to work. And now, because they're totally different kinds of quarterbacks, but now he not only is working with Cam's style of play, but Cam himself looks much better in terms of, his throwing ability.
But it's interesting because, like, you take, as we saw last week, without Cam Newton, that team doesn't work.
Oh, and Stidham's going to start on Sunday.
They're going to be trash. They're going to lose again.
Against the Broncos.
I would put money down that they will lose.
Well, they also played the Chiefs. That's part of the problem.
Stidham looked terrible.
Wait, even with the Broncos, maybe playing Drew Lock, maybe not.
I just don't see it happening. Also, can we just talk about the fact that this look of shock from Brady? I've seen this in like every game he's played so far this year. He is not having a good time. Like, I could tell he is not enjoying his time in Buccaneers land.
So here's my thoughts on this, and it might be seen as a really strange point, but this is why I love Brady on the Bucs. This is one of the huge reasons why I love it, because Arians in it himself is fiery, and Brady is fiery. It's just about how they actually spark together, and we haven't seen that yet. I will also say this, and I'm not intending for this to be an excuse because I don't think it is. And here's why I don't think it is. Brady came here for Bruce Arians, but also one other important reason. He had weapons. Godwin, Evans, Gronk, OJ Howard, who's unfortunately out with an Achilles for the rest of the year, Cameron Brate, who he's really loved. Let's be honest about this. He came to this team for the weapons. And guess who wasn't there last night? The weapons. Mike Evans, I don't know why Mike Evans is playing. He doesn't need to play. The guy needs to rest up and heal his hamstring injury. He didn't need to play. Okay? Godwin didn't play. Why is Evans out there? He's not even being productive that much this year, all things considered, because of his injury. Let's get this team healthy for 2 weeks, and then let's see what this team is about. Because here's the thing. This is a really strange thing. Last week, Brady threw for 5 touchdowns, looked great. This week, it looks like an absolute mess. It feels like a bit of a flip-flop. I mean, it is fair. It is fair. But let's see this team with their weapons in full, and then I'll make a determination on what this Bucs team is. Because right now, my thought is it's not dysfunctional. It's just rocky. But it still looks really fun.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's dysfunctional by any means. I just think it's like the full situation in Chicago. It's just, when you adapt to a new team, I mean, it's just, things are going to take a minute to mesh, especially with no preseason or anything. So,
and without all your weapons on offense, what do you expect?
Yeah. So, no, I'm pretty much in the same boat with both of them. So it was interesting that they played last night.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then let's see. Let's move on to the rest of the week 5 schedule. Of course, we have games on Monday and Tuesday this week due to COVID-19 protocols. We'll get through that as we go to those Monday games. We'll preview it, but we'll sort of talk about some of those protocols. For the 10 o'clock slate, it's a bit smaller than usual. Shane, I'll have you go first. What are your game to watch, or what is your one game to watch, I should say, for this 10 o'clock slate?
For me, none of them really jump out, to be honest. But one that I think will be interesting is Bengals Ravens, because mainly I want to see how Burrow does against a defense like this, because thus far, at least that I can think of, he hasn't played amazing defenses, but he's still been pretty competitive, and so he's definitely getting better week to week. And so I'm not expecting him to win. I just want to see, because this is going to be very challenging for him and that O-line. So I want to see how they kind of, what their plan of attack is and just what kind of success they could have. Yeah. And, a lot of these are just kind of bad.
So here's what I'll say with the Ravens and the Bengals. So one interesting thing happened earlier this week where Lamar has been limited and out of practice. Today was the first time he practiced this week due to a knee injury and a non-COVID related illness. How do you expect that changes this game, if at all, Shane?
Well, is he going to play?
Yes, he is going to play. He practiced fully today, I believe.
Well, then I'm not too worried. I mean, if he's healthy and he's been practicing fully, then I don't see how there would be an issue there. I mean, he had less practice time, which I guess doesn't help, but it's not like one day is going to kill him missing one day,
I don't think we'll see him run the ball as much, though.
No, I don't think so
not.
either.
Especially since he's been out with a knee injury, I think.
Yeah, so it's knee and a non-COVID related
I
illness.
also just don't think, though. Since it's the Bengals, like, no hate, but like it's the Bengals, so I don't think they're gonna really have to.
They're probably
run it that much.
Is RG3 gonna play at a point in this game?
Probably,
because they're gonna blow him out, as it always seems to be.
Or even if they don't, I'm sure they're just going into it thinking, yeah, we got it, whatever,
mhm.
Yeah. So, anyways,
At least for the 1 o'clock slate of games, Brandon, I'll have you talk about the Colts and the Browns. That seems to be the most interesting matchup here. What are your thoughts on those two teams?
Oh yeah, I'll talk about that, and then after that, I'm going to talk about Cowboys Giants.
All right.
Colts and the Browns. Browns have looked interesting this year. They kind of they put up a lot of points, but my God, is their defense terrible.
They're like the Cowboys, basically.
Yeah, except the Browns have managed to win their games.
Yeah. They're the Browns, or they're the Cowboys, but more clutch.
I mean, the Browns. There
more
was
egotistical.
There was a stat at the end of the Cowboys game I heard where they said this was the third game in a row that the Browns had scored 30+ points. They hadn't done that in a decade or something, apparently. So that's one thing. The Browns can score, right? One problem the Browns are going to have, though, is there's more good defenses in this league than not. And their division has pretty good defenses.
We're forgetting one thing about this matchup. The Colts are the #1 defense in the NFL.
Right. That's my point. That's where I was going with this.
Here's the thing, though. The Colts, yes, they have the #1 defense, but look at who they've played so far. None of them have very good offenses. So I'm looking forward to this game because I want to see if their defense is really that great or if they were just enhanced by the lack of, good opponents. Yeah, probably a bit of both.
It's kind of in a way, it's kind of like a prove yourself game
for both of them. I think.
They've played the Jags, the Vikings, and the Jets.
Yeah,
and the Bears.
Yeah, sleepers.
And it's one of those. So going back to what I was saying, I think the Browns, for me, it's gonna be, are they able to put up 30 points again? And the Colts, which I really don't think so with the Colts, because the Colts have proven that they can stop running game and passing, and they can stop it through the air and on the ground. But then again, as Shane said, they haven't really played anybody that big. I mean, I think their biggest check mark was kind of against the Vikings, where they basically shut down that run game. And I would say the Colts offense is kind of poop, though. So
it's
yeah,
still growing a little bit with River.
Yeah.
But we expect a cap on it with River.
Yeah, and I would say quickly going back to the Browns, I think the Browns are going to have as good of an offense as they have. They're going to have a hard time in their division.
No, absolutely.
They have the Ravens and then the Steelers,
who are both miles ahead of them, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, they're both the Browns. They have 3 or 4 years, I believe, before they're even Super Bowl eligible. They could make the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I could see them being in the playoffs. I could see them getting out of the wild card and into the divisional round at some point.
That's it.
But
for now,
yeah,
I give them 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 is more fair.
I kind of see them like the Seahawks when they were in 2009. It's kind of they were building and building. They had to get those pieces together before they were finally able to break through in 2012. And then it's okay.
I mean, they have great corners that are still developing, and Denzel Ward, and they've added some other pieces there with the secondary. So they're trying to build that. The defense should play better than it is, because quality basis, they actually have some quality players on that defense, but it's just not really clicking.
At the very least, they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, going to the Cowboys and Giants. I'm watching this game because this is, I think we can all agree, this is the end of the road for the Cowboys this year if they lose this game.
Yeah.
Because if they lose this game, oh my God, It is
Social
going
media is going to go
it's
crazy.
going to be burn it down mode in Dallas. Like, someone's gonna get fired, someone's gonna get cut.
Jason Garrett, can you come back?
I mean, literally.
Wait, here's my question. So last week we watched the Giants and Rams game, and that game was really weird because the Rams didn't really score a lot of points. Not saying the Rams offense is the Cowboys offense, but let's say that Cowboys Giants is at least similar to Rams Giants last week. Is that a concern
For the Giants?
for the Cowboys?
For the Cowboys.
If they play like the Rams played last week, which wasn't perfect.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it should be a concern for even the Rams. But yeah, I mean, even if they win, but it's still a really close, low-scoring game like that. I mean, that's, they've shown time and time again that they have a really good offense that just doesn't always have that extra edge to score more points and be clutch. But against the Giants, they're a bottom two team. I mean,
the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah, New York,
New
York,
New Jersey.
Yeah, and then there's Buffalo. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, I was expecting the Cowboys to be about 8-8, but they don't even look like they'll be 8-8. I mean, at this point, I think that they'll win like 5, maybe 6.
And then Shane, I'll have you start off with the Vikings and Seahawks. I want you to focus a little bit more on the Vikings side, though, because last week we were kind of we're doing a bit of a case study on this Vikings offense.
Sure.
We were talking about how the running game's kind of opening up the passing game a little bit, how Kirk Cousins is starting to trust Thielen, and of course Justin Jefferson, who's been really impressive here in the early going. What do the Vikings have to do in this game, offensively speaking, against the Seahawks team?
Well, I think, looking at this defense, they allow a lot of yards. That's no secret. I think part of the reason for that is because they've faced some pretty good pass offenses so far. I mean, you got Cowboys, Falcons, and Patriots who all have really high, high yardage averages. And then there's the Dolphins. But anyways, so I think the Vikings will definitely move the ball. Where it has to count, though, is in the red zone, because the Seahawks do have, pretty good red zone offense. Once you get close to the end zone, it's pretty hard to score on them. And I think that'll be the real difference here, because, they have some injuries that are affecting them, obviously. And so, I think that, their defensive line is pretty weak. So I think it should be easy for Dalvin Cook to, plug away for, 5-10 yards and then get brought down by the linebackers or whatever. And then, I think Cousins will have time to, make throws, and he doesn't have to worry about a super strong secondary. So again, due to injuries. So, I don't see them struggling to move the ball. It's just, once they're in the end zone, how do they do? There's also the issue of, Cousins obviously doesn't have the best history in primetime games. So, especially on the road. So
more Monday night than Sunday night, but still.
Well, yeah. So anyways, yeah, I think it'll be more competitive than people think, though.
Brandon, do you expect this to be a high-scoring game, and what are your thoughts on the Seahawks side? What are their keys to win?
I honestly kind of expect the Seahawks to go all Green Bay on the Vikings' ass this year, or on Sunday night. I mean, the Seahawks are like the only comparable offense that to Green Bay that the Vikings have faced so far.
Mm.
I fully expect them to just tear them apart. You know,
I think they'll score a lot of points for sure.
I mean, I honestly think we're gonna hold the Vikings because they're not gonna be able to run it on us because we actually have one of the best run defenses in the league right now.
Yeah, it's like top 6 or 7. Yeah,
and like we have like a bend but don't break mentality when it comes to the passing game, as Shane said. Like, you get close to the end zone, you're not gonna have much luck. So, like, a lot of the most of the touchdowns this year have come from like big plays, like chunk plays, you know. Although I will say one thing that they've gotten better at is not letting plays get behind our corners like we had last year, which was one of the most frustrating parts about the Seahawks, was seeing just big, deep down the field plays, which was basically how we lost to Green Bay. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game. But at the end of the day, I think the Seahawks are going to prove why they're 4-0 and why the Vikings are 1-3.
I think this is gonna be really high scoring and really fun. It's definitely gonna be really close. I think the Seahawks absolutely pull it out. But I want to. Hey, this is the game, man. Vikings offense. Let's see it back-to-back weeks. Let's see this offense improve. And if they do, it's going to be a very close game. But I think regardless, the Seahawks are going to pull this out.
Yeah, I see it being like 42-30.
Yeah, something around there. Yeah.
Like, it'll be air quotes close. It'll be like, oh man, it's like, oh, it's close, but it's not like nail biting, like clutch your pearls close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be like 7-10 or something like that. And then we'll shift to the COVID protocol changes. Of course, Chargers Saints were the Monday night game as expected. Broncos Patriots got moved to the 2 p.m. Pacific slot on ESPN as well. And then Tuesday we have Bills Titans. This game is still not confirmed. We know that Broncos Patriots is more than likely going to be played. Bills Titans not as much due to the protocol. So if this game does get played, we won't have Thursday Night Football next week. And it was a great game too. It was going to be Chiefs and Bills, but we'll see that probably Sunday afternoon if this game does get played. But let's shift to those protocols for the Titans and how they've mistreated those protocols. Some players broke protocols and held workouts at parks amid their outbreak, and NFL execs said the Titans didn't enforce mask guidelines before their outbreak. Brandon, your thoughts on how the Titans have handled or not handled these protocols and not approached them with any care whatsoever?
If I was a part of any other team in this league right now, I'd be livid with the Titans. They've had 6 months to watch the NBA, to watch the NHL, to watch all these other leagues and MLB and be like, look, to get this done, everybody has to work together. And the fact that the Titans were out here not like even enforcing protocol or going out and doing your own practice after they shut down facilities because of COVID. I mean, like, come on. I mean, at this point, I think they should just give the Bills the win just to prove a point. Just there has to be some form of punishment. And I don't care. And like, punishment isn't just, take some money away from them. No. When you are an athlete, no matter whether you are high school, Pop Warner, college, whatever, I know what it is like to have to forfeit a game. It is the most infuriating thing in the world to have to just forfeit a game because you didn't have enough players or you didn't have so-and-so or you couldn't play. It sucks. Because even if you lose and you actually play, you lost. You actually tried. You actually got to have a hand in the outcome.
So here's my thing. And look, the Patriots, them having both of their games moved to Monday night. Look, the Patriots have done a way better job. They've only had a few cases. They've been pretty good. I'm not worried about the Patriots, but the Titans to have what? I imagine now it's about 30 personnel, players, coaches, staff, and other
Probably.
personnel that have tested positive. Here's the ultimate reality of this. Now, if they have more cases and they postpone this game, I imagine the Bills are going to get the forfeit win. But the biggest thing with this for the other teams that have done a good job with COVID, and obviously COVID's kind of been everywhere around the league, whether they've had it or been exposed to it with the COVID-19 list, it's been everywhere around the league. But all of the other 31 teams have done a really good job of it, all things considered. The biggest problem with this, right? The biggest problem with this for me, obviously with it, is the scheduling changes. For teams to shift bye weeks, for teams to play on a Tuesday, and then maybe not play on a Thursday, but move that game to Sunday, so that adversely affects the Chiefs. Of course, like the Patriots game being moved to Monday isn't that big of a deal. That's the problem for me. That's the problem for me, because the Steelers, guess what? The Steelers, they were supposed to play Titans last week. They had a makeshift bye week that they weren't supposed to have. And we talked about how tough it is to have a week 4 bye earlier in the year. That's the problem, is that at some point, the Titans, and, at least with the Titans, it's affecting so many other teams.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate issue here.
You also have to, if I'm a team, any of the teams that is on the Titans schedule this year, I'm having real conversations about, like, with the league being like, y'all better give us this win if the Titans don't get their shit together. Because, like, it's the Titans are a dangerous organization at this point. Just straight up.
I have to commend Sean McDermott for his comments earlier in the week about this, and he was very professional, very honest. I really appreciated his comments in that he was like, we're just going to play like normal. We're just going to take this week like normal and say, okay, we're going to play the Titans. We don't know when we're going to play them, but we're going to practice like normal and follow the protocols and be smart, but still have it be a normal week. I thought that was a really great comment by Sean McDermott, and it just showed, like, hey, the Bills are going to take it as it is and let the NFL deal with it. And I think that that was really great by McDermott and the Bills organization. But Shane, your overall thoughts on this?
Yeah, the fact that, it's one thing if you, like with the Patriots, you come in like you do every day and you have a guy who tests positive, and then, you immediately have him self-isolate, and, you do your protocols. Okay, that's one thing. That'll happen. You know what I mean? But to know that multiple players and staff have gotten this thing, and then you continue to get together with the team and do stuff without masks on, that is just stupid. Like, there's no excuse for that. They could have done their self-isolation and gotten better, and then they could be playing this week. But no. So now they're just being dumb. So yeah, going forward, if they can't play, I think they absolutely should have to forfeit their games, because at first it's like, okay, there's one case happens, whatever, the initial outbreak, that's one thing, but now it's gone on a long time, and they have no one to blame for this but themselves, because of how bad it's gotten. So, I mean, yeah, like Brandon said, forfeiting a game sucks, but they don't have anyone to blame but themselves for this, like I said. So, I mean, I don't really feel any sympathy for them at this point. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, no, I think that they should definitely have to forfeit. But anyways,
And we'll see what happens over the next few days. But again, to conclude this point, the very simple comparison is how the Patriots have dealt with this and how the NFL has dealt with the Patriots in their outbreaks compared to the Titans. The Patriots have had a couple, like 2 or 3 players test positive, put them in self-isolation, do all the protocols, move the game to Monday. No problem. We have 2 weeks of Monday Night Football. No problem. We can do Monday. Not a huge deal. Then the Titans, it's like, oh, we have cases. It doesn't really matter. We're just not even going to use masks and we're going to be okay or whatever, which they aren't. And it's just continuing to grow and grow and grow every day. So the perfect comparison as a case study is what the Patriots have done versus what the Titans have done. It's that simple. It really is.
Yep.
Last NFL topic for today is Bill O'Brien. He is now fired from the Houston Texans due to, honestly, one of the most weirdest ways a coach has gotten fired in a long time, at least in my opinion. Bill O'Brien, ESPN Houston, John Gradano reported that J.J. Watt had a heated exchange with Bill O'Brien that led to a players' revolt and ended up getting Bill O'Brien fired. I believe the defensive coordinator was also involved in this heated exchange. Shane, your thoughts on what we originally thought was a firing due to performance, but it was due to this exchange, which the players were extremely unhappy about.
Well, it's interesting because I wasn't, I think most of us were expecting he would be fired, but not this soon. And so when I heard that he was fired, what seemed to be kind of abruptly, I was like, I thought, okay, that's weird. I would imagine he's the coach, the general manager, all this stuff. I thought, okay, they're going to stick it out through the year, I imagine. So I was like, there must be something up here. And the story comes out on Wednesday about, well, and I was like, okay, I see. It's, this is, I mean, I don't know what prompted this heated exchange necessarily, or just how big it was, how many people were involved in it. But I mean, the fact that he has that much power in that organization and that they fired him over it, it must have been pretty bad.
Players also mentioned that their voices felt not heard in the organization with Bill O'Brien as well. Brandon, your thoughts on this exchange that led to Bill O'Brien's firing earlier this week?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. It took this long.
Yeah.
You can go all the way back to I believe it was Hard Knocks in 2013 when with the Texans. And there's a part where so just to rewind. I went back and rewatched this the other day, right? After I heard about the fight between J.J. Watt and Bill O'Brien. And there was something that clicked in my brain that I remembered a part in Hard Knocks where you see J.J. Watt and Bill O'Brien getting after each other. Where basically Bill O'Brien is yelling at J.J. be like, your defense sucks, yada, yada, yada. Get this shit together, basically. And I went back and I watched this part and I looked at J.J. Watt and I looked at his body language and I looked at all this stuff and I was like, this man has never had respect for Bill O'Brien at all. You just look at him. You look at the way his body language shows, the way he talks, just the way that Bill O'Brien coached. The man did not know how to run a team. I don't know how the hell he became GM, but it was never a good situation, and it was about time that he got booted. And as I said to you, Robert, I was half joking when I said that JJ Watt is the hero of Houston right now. But he probably is.
He's always been the hero
I
of
mean,
Houston. JJ Watt is Houston.
He's the most beloved man in that city right now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all I'll say is it's about time. So
It's a weird thing for me because I credit Bill O'Brien a lot for Deshaun Watson's development. I think he actually kind of helped him, even though he's a defensive coach, kind of help him ease into the NFL. But the problem arose after we knew what Deshaun Watson was capable of, which is that it's not just about Deshaun Watson and about the other players on this team. It's about, do players' voices get heard? DeAndre Hopkins was pretty happy to leave this organization. And it was for me, ultimately, it was the trades that happened last year. Trading Clowney for, let's be honest, pretty much nothing. And then trading Hopkins for literally nothing. I mean, David Johnson, let's be honest here. David Johnson's not getting as much run as he should. He should be playing a lot better. Hopefully, Romeo Cornell is going to help him a little bit more.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Right. For sure. But, yeah. I mean, hopefully Romeo Cornell kind of gets this team going for a little bit. He's their assistant coach now, the interim head coach. I don't know what they are moving forward yet. We'll have to see over the next few weeks. But hopefully they play better because this team has a lot more talent than they're given credit for, especially with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. And as we talk about consistently, Watson has to stop running. And hopefully that will happen with Romeo Cornell.
Well, they just need to know line.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways.
And then moving on to some fantasy football stuff. Our Thursday Night Football MVP for this week is David Montgomery with 18.9 points. I decided to start him, which I'm really thankful for. I didn't think I was going to, and then last minute I decided to. Sometimes that happens. But as it seems like every week, everyone is negotiating trades like madmen in our U-Wave League. And
yes,
we have two trades that happened this week in the league. First, we'll go with my trade with our guy Mason. I traded Deebo Samuel and Le'Veon Bell for Myles Gaskin. I'm still kind of murky on like what's the overall thought process of this trade in terms of I know why I made the deal, but in terms of the trade by itself, how it's viewed. So Brandon, I'll go to you. How do you view this Gaskin, Samuel, and Bell trade?
I mean, it was basically. I mean, the way I look at it was basically a straight up Deebo for Miles trade with Le'Veon just kind of in there as a piece. I think it's a pretty fair trade when you're just doing like when you're looking at it as what it is, which is straight up Myles Gaskin for Deebo Samuel.
Shane, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what his receiver situation is like, but I think this is good for you, especially in the short term while we're kind of waiting to see how McCaffrey's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But yeah, no, I don't see much of an issue with this one.
Mm-hmm. So two things. One is Le'Veon had value in this league. And I'm starting to understand why he has value. He has value because he's going to come back, not this week. I mean, he'll be back probably on a short-term snap count this week. But moving forward, you could make the argument he's a volume-based RB2 or maybe even an RB2. I mean, is it necessarily amazing considering his fantasy track record the last years? No. But at least he's a volume-based RB2. And so I was surprised to see that he had that kind of value to people, but I think it's fair. I don't think he was a throw-in piece. I actually think he was a valuable piece of this trade. But I think it was interesting because I think both of Gaskin and Bell are kind of comparable in that way, where it's really just a volume-based RB2 kind of thing. And with Debo, I'm very comfortable with my receivers right now. I didn't need Debo. And so for me, I felt like, and that's kind of where I'm murky on it. It's just kind of like, okay, here's a volume-based running back that I traded in Le'Veon Bell. Here's Debo because I don't need him for another volume-based running back, another volume-based RB2. And that's kind of it. And then we'll see kind of who shakes out as the better guy. But at least for me in the long term, I just felt more comfortable with Gaskin than Bell. But I don't think I'm surprised that he had again, the biggest thing for me is I'm surprised at how much value Bell had. But the more I think about it, the more I understand why he had value.
I just need to see how he actually does once he starts playing,
Yeah.
Then I think I'll have a better idea. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was interesting ultimately combining the two trades, the trade that I made with Brandon that involved Le'Veon, where I was very comfortable in cutting him, but considering that he was on an IR and I had the IR slot pretty much open, I thought, okay, why not just put him on IR, knowing full well 5-6 weeks down the road I'll cut him, but to at least have him in this trade. I even look at that trade as a more valuable piece, even for both of us, both Brandon and I, even more now after this trade happened.
Well, I think it also makes, looking back on our trade, I think it makes our trade look more fair in the balance of things. Because at the time you were just taking him to take him off my hands.
And that was my intention, full on.
So,
Shane, your thoughts on the combination of this trade that you see here and my trade that I made with Brandon a few weeks ago?
What was your old trade? I don't even remember.
It was Jarvis Landry and James Conner to me, and I gave him
Bell and Amari Cooper.
That's right, Bell
Okay.
and Amari Cooper.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does it look better now, or like how does it look now after this trade?
I'd say so.
I mean, because if you think about it, the way I looked at the trade at the time was I was giving you like a wide receiver 1, and you were giving me like a top running back and a decent wide receiver.
Yeah, I was giving you a running back 1 with injury risk and a pretty decent receiver. And let's be honest, Landry's actually going to play better over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and honestly, he's kind of balanced out better than I thought he would. So
yeah.
Going on to the trade that Shane and I made, I traded Shane, Gardner Minshew, and Corey Davis, and in return, I got Rex Burkhead and Dak Prescott. I don't know.
Shane, can you answer this question for me?
Okay.
Just straight up answer this question. Not, I'm helping Brandon. No, I answer this question straight up, regardless of if it was Brandon or not. Just ignore that this is Brandon's team and he's 0-4 and all this stuff.
Okay.
What do you gain out of this trade?
I mean, here's the thing. I didn't really want, for starters, okay, I could use a good backup running back. And so with this, I now have 5 or 6 really solid receivers. So I can use one of them as leverage for a trade to get a running back. Okay. That's one thing. Also, my quarterback is Josh Allen. Okay. He is putting up MVP type of numbers. I didn't need Dak Prescott. If I can get Gardner Minshew, he's a solid backup. He's averaging 20 points a game. I'll take that. So I don't really, I mean, to be honest, at least for right now, I don't feel like I really gain or lose anything.
It's not I don't know why you think it's a bad trade, Robert, because honestly, if you think about it, you have to think about it from our points of view of what we needed. Like, I got a much better quarterback.
No, I think I'm not worried about you, Brandon, because I think you won this trade.
I don't think Shane actually busted that hard, because like the reason I packaged this deal the way I did is because, I mean, he already has a quarterback, right? That's doing really well. Gardner Minshew gives you a pretty consistent 20 20 points a game as which is good backup status. Corey Davis, when he's not on COVID alert, you could easily package him, send him off. That's how I basically advertised this deal.
That's how I'm looking at it.
But here's my ultimate thing. So number one, I compare this trade a lot to the trade I made with here, let me pull it up with Jackson. And let's see if I can go back in the archives. So actually I can't even see it right now. But the trade I made with Jackson was, what was it? It was just, it was Ryan Tannehill and Russell Gage for AJ Green and I think one other piece, which I don't remember right now. I compared this trade to that because I lost that trade because I cut AJ Green after like 1 week, as I should have, because he hasn't been productive whatsoever. But I looked at this trade and I went, okay, Shane, the reality is who has more value in a trade, Dak Prescott or Corey Davis? Dak has immense value.
Well,
and
obviously.
there are teams in this league that need quarterback help badly. And you could have gotten a running back and at least a solid RB2 for Dak. Then I think if you were looking at leverage, in my point of view, the leverage was Dak. And you would have said, you could have looked at a team and went, oh, I could have gotten maybe a Devin Singletary type or something for Dak. Corey Davis is going to have much less value, especially that A.J. Brown's going to come back.
Well, no, I wasn't saying that I would trade Corey Davis. I was just saying that now I have, like, if I wanted to trade one of my other receivers, like, I don't know, like a Diggs or
then that would make more sense to me.
Or something. Yeah.
Then that would make more sense. If you're saying, oh, Diggs, for example, maybe if he's potentially
or
available,
something like that.
Then I get this trade more. So maybe we have to wait a couple weeks and see what you could package. So that I understand.
That's the thing. I'm not expecting anything amazing to come out of it right this second.
Yeah.
Because and I mean, at the end of the day, I believe that I have the second best roster in our league. So I'm not too worried about losing, a starting caliber quarterback when I already have one that's just as good, if not better.
You would say better, probably, by a bit.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Dak does good in fantasy, but yeah. So, anyways, yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of what, because I mean, I don't know who. I'm just looking at everybody's rosters right now. Like, I don't know who would other than like probably Mason. Well, no, not even Mason, because he has Aaron Rodgers.
Paul.
Yeah,
Paul,
I guess.
Drake.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he traded for Drake last week, but
yeah. But anyways,
but yeah, I think definitely I have to see what you end up packaging if you do later on.
Yeah.
And then Shane, I'll go to you for this discussion. I added in Big 12 football this week. I want to talk a bit about college and the air raid offense that the Big 12 has played. And obviously, Texas has been terrible. Oklahoma lost their last 2 games. I guess my biggest question is, like, in the Big 12, historically speaking, considering how it's so offensive focused, a lot of these upsets are bound to happen, correct?
I mean, yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment to make.
If you're Oklahoma, for example, why don't you put more resources in actually building a defense? Because if you build a defense, you can not only win the Big 12, but also win the national championship. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's definitely a fair point. honestly, I don't really know why. I mean, because the thing about Oklahoma is they've been so good for so long that they definitely have the recruiting potential to attract, good defensive guys, but they just don't.
I mean, sometimes
um,
it's only one piece, like one top corner, but I'm saying in terms of building
well,
that whole
yeah.
defense up.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about college recruiting is, there's no limit on what kind of pieces you could get. You can go out there with however much money you want and say, hey, we're building up this super team in Oklahoma. And they're like, oh, Oklahoma, yeah, you guys are good. You got Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield coming through the last few years. Yeah, you get a
Spencer
good
Rattler
defense,
hasn't been horrible.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a good program. So, um, I think they would definitely benefit from having a good defense because it would not only help them immensely in the Pac-12 or Pac-12 in the Big 12, but also, of course, in like come playoff time, because I think that they would have a bit more of a competitive edge against, yeah, like an Alabama or an LSU, for instance, or a Clemson. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas right now, I think they just kind of have to rely on their offense, which can't always get the job done.
And
Just
which can provide upsets in the Big 12 where every other team's built the same way.
right.
Brandon, your thoughts on that? Do you agree with my assessment of the Big 12 in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I do. I think the Big 12, personally for me, I think that I don't watch a ton of the Big 12 because it's kind of pretty boring football in my opinion. Um, Oklahoma's really the only ones that are actually kind of stand out. And it's weird as the season, like last year I loved college football. This year I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's.
We keep
I
saying this like every
I
week.
think. I
don't
think
know.
a
I
lot
can't
of
get
it.
into it.
A lot of it comes to the. I think a lot of it. I've realized is that college football is all about the fans.
No fans is rough.
No fans in the stands doesn't work. However, for some reason, NFL without fans is fine.
Well, because in college you got, it's so much about their passion for their school, and what I mean, you got the whole student section and the and the pep band, and they're all just super hyped, and there's just something there's because college stadiums typically are much higher capacity than NFL stadiums, which seems weird, but but they are. And as a result, you get it's just so much louder, and there's just so much more energy there. And so, partially because I think the audience is a bit younger, and so, I think that definitely does play a part. And even if even if you have like quarter capacity or whatever, yeah, it's still there's still people, but they're all spread out and they just kind of look like cardboard cutouts basically. um so yeah,
Um,
I don't know.
so here's the biggest thing when we're talking about the fans piece. For me, it's not about the fans with college football. It's about I just don't like just general conference play. Even in the SEC, it's not that compelling. So for me, it's more of a scheduling issue than a fan issue. But with the fan issue, let's be honest about the last 5-10 years of the NFL, particularly when you're talking about red zone, for example, or things of that nature, DirecTV, Sunday Ticket, and how the broadcasting and production of the NFL is. It's a TV product ultimately.
Yeah.
Like I'm someone who like loves the TV product, but isn't necessarily a huge fan of the actual like being their experience other than Sunday night, Monday night, or Thursday night. Because for me, when you're talking about the 10 o'clock and the 1 o'clock games, I want to watch all the games because that experience is more fun for me than sitting at a 10 o'clock game and only watching that game. That's just kind of how the culture of the NFL is, at least for me as a fan. I like to watch every team. That's just who I am.
And that's different for me with like college, because like I'd much rather go to a college game
Yes.
than
I would rather
an NFL game.
honestly. This might sound weird, but like I would rather go to a high school game than an NFL game because like there's the well,
No, not with the quality of play in Washington State. Probably not.
No, but I just mean not because when you go to a game, you know, half the fun is not. It's not like the quality of play or whatever. It's just the ambiance of being there, being in the, in the action and surrounded by all these really passionate fans. And when you go to a high school game, there's all this school spirit everywhere, and there's pep band, and it's fun, and the kids get all hyped, and it's cool. College, kind of the same thing, except just like times 50. But then the NFL, that just doesn't exist. Like it's just a bunch of like middle-aged people just standing around drinking beer and watching the play happen. They're like, and then
what?
And then it's
what?
Like, yeah, I mean, you've been to Seattle games, haven't you? Like,
it's been like 5 years, but yeah.
No, I don't know. It's I mean, it's still a great time. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. There's just something so much more like fun and special about going to like a school type of like college or whatever. For me, at least.
And again, there's a very important distinction here. We're talking about being a fan. If you're a broadcaster, like I would go anywhere to any NFL game, any college game. I don't care.
Yep.
As a broadcaster, that's different. But as a fan, I'm only going Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. Because I think or Sunday night, Monday night, or Thursday night. Because that's the only game on TV, and there's just something more fun about watching these primetime games. There's something more fun about actually going to a primetime game as a fan and a national TV game than a random game on a random Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
It just shows the product of the NFL as a TV product.
Yeah. That's the thing about the NFL is like, I mean, unless they're like with this pandemic and not having crowds, unless they actually show the seats in the stadium, like I forget that there's not anyone there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Brandon, for you, how much is it about like the actual decibels they use in the broadcast? Because they use now 80 decibels for the crowd noise that they're pumping in. Does that kind of change your approach to watching the games on TV in some way to make you think that they're fans there?
I think so, a little bit. But it was kind of funny last night because I don't know if you noticed, but the sound kept cutting out. Like the sound that they were pumping in.
Oh, it did cut out a little bit. I did notice that.
It cut out a couple times. I was like, that's really funny. It was like Madden, where it's like sometimes the sound will like cut away, and I was like, oh my god, we're in the Matrix. But
yeah,
I think it does. It does have a bit of an impact.
Mm-hmm.
The Matrix.
All right, and let's move on to some MLB postseason topics. Brandon, I'll go to you since you put some of this stuff in. What are your thoughts on the postseason so far? Because it's been pretty fun.
Yeah. So, first off, the A's lose to the Astros. The Astros BS continues. They're so smug. They're so cocky. I hate it.
Yeah,
they're the worst.
Okay, this is a controversial point, but let me say it.
Oh no.
I don't know,
up, Robert. I don't want to hear it.
No.
I don't want to hear anything good about them.
No.
About to get feisty.
No. Listen. This is not a good point.
I will fight you.
No, listen.
Just let him say it first.
Yeah. This is not a. If I'm an Astros player, an Astros coach, how else am I no, regardless of them not apologizing, which is very stupid and all those other things. In this postseason, how am I supposed to treat it? No, obviously, I think they've been kind of a little overboard.
You're supposed
But
to not be going out saying things like haters gonna hate, basically. Like, you're not supposed to be actively antagonizing. Like, they continue to act like they did nothing wrong.
Which I agree.
That's the problem.
Like, they actually said, we're out to prove a point to everyone that hated on us.
Yeah,
and it's not a hated thing. But I think the biggest problem with it for me, and I think I'm starting to realize this more, is that they're actually saying it out in the public and putting it out there.
Yeah.
But in private, they should think that, because I don't know how else to approach it.
I mean,
but to put it out in public,
right? If they were doing it in private, that's fine. Think whatever the fuck you want to think in private. But like, I mean, to be actively going out of your way to say, like, basically make the point that, like, they don't think anything wrong happened is, I mean, atrocious.
No, I agree.
Clearly it did.
And to continue, as I said last time with this topic, below 500 wouldn't have made the playoffs in a regular season. I really hope New York kicks the crap out of them. I really
they probably will.
I really do.
Shane, go ahead with your point.
Well, I was just gonna say they say they did nothing wrong, and they didn't face any consequences, and then now they're being rewarded by this new playoff format that we initially liked.
I still like it. I still like it.
Well, I know I do too, but
it's flawed.
At least for this year.
I think it's better than the way it used to be. Because I think only 10 teams, that's kind of dumb. Like,
so I'll put it this way. I think in a full season, I would like it.
Yeah.
My biggest worry is it's half the league.
So same thing with NBA.
I mean, people get.
I guess that is true. Yeah.
NBA is 16 teams out of 30.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so I guess in a full season they should keep it. I like it. I want to keep most of the changes they had this year. I love the universal DH. I love the guy on second base. Now, in the playoffs, to eliminate the guy on second base, what are your guys' thoughts on that? To like completely get rid of the guy on second base to start extra innings in the postseason and just do a normal postseason?
I think the postseason is the time to do it, if anything. All things considered. So
I'm
kind of back and forth on it. Brandon, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like it. It does feel like the time to be doing it is the postseason.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth on it. But even so, I'm kind of good either way. And then you also want to talk about the Marlins. The Marlins played good in the wild card, made the playoffs, won their first playoff series in a long while. They did lose. But what are your thoughts on the Marlins and what Derek Jeter has done with that group this year?
I can't take them seriously because it was a short season. It was not a real season. I mean, I guess it was a real season, but like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm still a little annoyed that the Marlins got in. Especially because of the fact that they had the whole, like, they were the main perpetrator of the COVID outbreak in baseball.
Yeah.
And, like, not cool. So.
Yeah. Shane, your thoughts on the Marlins making the playoffs and what they've been doing? Do you think this is a long-term thing that they can make the playoffs moving forward, or is this just kind of a one-year thing for you?
I don't know. Like Brandon said, it's a shortened season, and a bunch of weird things happened this year. So we'll have to see if they can sustain it. I don't know. 60 games is vastly different than 160. So
Yeah, 162. Yeah.
yeah. So I think we'll just have to see, next year when there's a full, or hopefully a full actual season. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And then moving on to the NBA, we got Game 5 tonight of the finals. Shane, you and I both on our post show last week kind of felt that this series had a bit more of an edge to it. Game 4 kind of showed this, even though the Lakers got a win. Do you feel still like this series is over ultimately after this game, or what are your thoughts on where the series is at before we get a tip off tonight?
I do think LA still wins. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami got another win in, or even two, because yes, the Lakers won. However, it was obviously pretty close, and LA still seems to kind of have this problem where it's just the LeBron and AD show, and no one else is really stepping up, at least offensively. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that worries me because Miami is, getting more healthy, and so they're going to come back and start doing, a lot more effectively. So I mean, again, I don't, at this point, I think LA will win, but I mean, I could see it going to 6 or 7 games very easily.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami got a win tonight. Brandon, your thoughts on the series so far?
Yeah, I think Miami will get a win. I actually wouldn't be shocked. So it'll go two ways. I think either if Miami gets the win tonight, I think it gets them it gives them the ability to take it to 7. I think, but I think at the end, probably gonna be it's probably gonna be the Lakers.
Yeah. The Lakers are better. I mean, Anthony Davis, they have a difficult. I mean, he's getting to the post, which is important. LeBron had a great third quarter in this game. I mean, LeBron and AD are just tough to beat, but really AD is the key in this series. And when he has a good game, he had a good game. In the last game, I should say. If he plays as well, or even better tonight, I think the series is over. It's really just about AD because we know how productive LeBron is ultimately. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this series. I feel like the Lakers are going to win tonight, but again, as we're all kind of stating, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat find a way to win. It's on Jimmy Butler to play kind of like he did in Game 3. I think ultimately, he kind of slowed down a little bit in the last game. So in Game 3, if he plays like he did in Game 3, Miami's tough to beat, but it's hard to do it consistently when it kind of feels like a one-man show, even with Bam there.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, that's the thing about Miami's. They have, LeBron and AD are like stars, but then, you got 3 or 4 guys, even 5 sometimes on Miami that consistently put up like 15, 20 points and all do their job pretty well. So it's tough. They're both pretty different in my opinion, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Game 5 is going to give us a lot of clarity about the direction of the series, or it might end tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And then Conor McGregor, his saga continues. What an interesting spot. He of course said he was going to retire. I said that he wasn't really retiring, as I did feel that the UFC did basically not give him a fight that he was looking for. The reality of the matter is, on Fight Island, he wanted to fight on Fight Island this year against a top 5 guy, like the guy that he's hoping to fight. But the UFC just didn't give it to him. I think a lot of it was just UFC not being willing to give him a fight, trying to go for the money when, let's be honest, Conor McGregor is a draw either way. And then this saga was interesting because just last week we were talking about Manny Pacquiao and Conor going up in a boxing match. Then a few days later, Poirier and McGregor were planning on doing some charity match. And then the UFC stepped in and was like, let's just do this as a real thing. Conor signed that contract, apparently. He wants this to happen at the end of 2020. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this whole saga with Conor and trying to get him a fight, maybe not get him a fight? What are your thoughts, and how much is the UFC to blame for this whole mess?
It's like, you know what it's like? Conor McGregor right now, Conor McGregor to the UFC is Brock Lesnar to WWE.
It feels that way in some
Because
respects, yeah.
He runs around the story whenever Brock Lesnar's contract is always coming up with WWE. Is like, oh my God, Brock Lesnar, like his contract, like will he sign? Will he not resign? Is he coming back? Yada yada yada.
Is he going to the UFC?
Right? Is he going to UFC? And like, Conor McGregor is a good fighter, but let's be honest, the most valuable aspect of him is his controversialness.
Yeah, his talk.
Like, it's the fact that he talks the biggest game, he talks the most crap, he gets in his opponent's face the most, and he doesn't give a crap. Like, I don't think he could lose and he would still win because he would make more money, get more out of it, and have a bigger name than anybody.
Yeah. Although he did bump up Khabib's name a lot, I would say.
That's true.
Yeah, but how much is the UFC to blame for this whole thing? Because for me, it has a lot to do with Dana just not giving him a fight when he wanted to. What are your thoughts on that? Like Conor wanted to fight, right? And the UFC was like, no, we're gonna wait for Khabib, or we're gonna wait for something else to come around.
I mean, to be fair, I mean the fight that everybody wanted was Conor Khabib Part 2. I mean, they wanted to see that rematch, you know? So like, you're not gonna use Khabib. You're not just gonna use Conor McGregor on some schmuck, you know.
But Poirier is not some schmuck. We're gonna
right.
This fight's gonna be great.
I'm not saying Poirier McGregor is like a bad fight, but like, I mean, look, you're not getting the McGregor Khabib fight anytime soon because you're having the title bout to bring the titles together.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with Khabib and Gaethje.
I would honestly say I could see them doing Khabib McGregor Part 2 for the title, you know,
and which is what they're kind of hoping for.
Belt. Like, I think they're crossing their fingers and they're going, let's not have another situation like we had with Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson, where it was supposed to be Ferguson v. Khabib,
which is never going to happen again. I think we're over that. Sadly, we've been waiting that for like a decade.
Which is like, okay, well, that sucks now, and like
Dana doesn't want to book it anymore.
Well, yeah, because he lost.
It keeps getting messed up.
And like Dana's probably like, God damn it, let's just do fucking. I guarantee you, we're gonna see McGregor versus Khabib again, just because of the amount. But I think that'll be like, I believe that'll be like the first big major fight after the pandemic is over, after everybody can be back in Las Vegas to see like.
I think that we're gonna see that fight early next year in like Fight Island. Maybe.
No, I think they're gonna use that fight. That's a fight that like needs people in the.
Yeah.
They're not gonna waste a fight like. No.
But like, here's my thing. Like, even if Poirier wins, and even if Gaethje wins, who gives a crap? Because Khabib and Conor is still gonna make bank, and Conor, no matter who he fights, basically he's gonna make bank anyway.
Well, that's why I think they would still do Conor Khabib get part 2 because
Right.
they still have beef. Like,
Yeah, but here's what, like, they want it to be for the title so bad just to promote it, but my thought is,
Yeah.
who gives a rat?
yeah, it's kind of like, who else is he gonna fight?
Yeah.
And 4 minutes ago, the Seahawks just announced that they will be wearing their lime green uniforms this weekend.
Oh,
Really?
boy.
The lime greens? Wait, like the old style lime greens?
No, like the
They're
Thursday
ugly.
night
Oh,
color rush or
the
whatever.
yeah, the
Oh, I
color
love
rush.
those unis.
No,
I'm a
I
huge fan
hate
of them.
no,
I'm a huge fan of them.
it's like the weird
The
neon,
color
like,
rush, the color rush
yeah.
ones, yeah. Let me pull them up.
It's so gross.
I love the color rush unis.
Because I got a post notification from their Instagram and it says
Oh,
we're wearing these this weekend, and I'm like,
they like the. I kind of like their camo ones.
Is
you
this
know,
really
the-
that bad?
Yeah, it's
yes.
pretty gross.
It's not. I love them. They're my favorite color rush unis.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, the color rich uniforms are all kind of terrible. Let's be
They were
honest.
all bad. I'm
Yeah.
glad we got rid of them.
Well, not totally.
Not totally, but at least they're
mean,
just part of the uniform package.
I just think like, and like all like monocolored uniforms just don't work.
They might be wearing blue pants though.
Oh, that
Okay,
would be
if they're
interesting.
doing blue pants, that actually works better.
Yeah.
You know?
Because Disley does have blue pants in this picture. So.
Yeah, because like old green doesn't work, but if it's like the lime green top with like blue pants, I think that works better.
I will say that my favorite Seahawks uniform is the gray uniform.
Really?
I actually like the gray uniform the
I mean,
most.
it's not bad. I love just the blue one.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm about the gray for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Shane,
not bad.
what are you, going back to Conor? What are your thoughts as someone outside looking in, just looking at the hype of some of these fights and what's gone on with Conor the last few months?
I mean, we were all expecting Connor to return at some point. He's fake retired several times. So
Yeah.
I was like, we'll just wait a few months and he'll get some fight opportunity, and then, oh, I'm coming back. Oh yeah, shocker.
What a surprise.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I don't. Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of hype every time he comes back. So,
Back,
I'm not,
quote unquote.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, because he is one of those fighters that not only attracts attention of obviously fight fans, but just the general public as is, because he gets a lot of media attention in the news. They're like, oh, Conor McGregor. It's like, oh my gosh, that guy. Yeah, the controversial Irishman. And it's just like, I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, it's I guess it's always fun to see him come back, but I do always forget that he's Irish. I don't know why, but I imagine him being like some guy from Boston or something. But then I hear him speak, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. And then to finish off the show for today, wanted to do some NHL stuff. Wanted to do some NHL draft specific stuff since we had the draft, and talk about the number 1 pick going to the New York Rangers, Alexis Lafrenière. A lot of hype around him. Connor McDavid level hype around him. We did some prospect analysis, watched a little bit of tape of him. Brandon, you used to play goalie, correct? Brandon, you used to play goalie, correct? Is it glitched out again?
Did Brandon disappear?
I don't know.
Did Thanos snap him?
No, but the main thing in watching some of his tape, for me at least, was his stick skill. I really loved his stick skill, his awareness of the puck. So much of hockey is positioning and where you position yourself on the ice. And he just does a phenomenal job of that. He's also just really great at getting hits. He's not the most aggressive guy, but he does things in spots almost that I really enjoy, because he he hits a player in spots. He's creative and aggressive in spots, but he's also just a playmaker in spots. But he does those things based on the particular play and based on what's happening on the ice. Very anticipatory. And that's someone like Crosby when he came out as well. And that I think is so difficult for a defense to kind of handle. Brandon, you there?
Yeah.
Yep. So you used to play goalie, correct?
Yes.
How do you deal with a player like Lafrenière and his skill set in terms of puck placement and positioning and all those things?
You hope. I mean, look, like I watched his highlight tape, and like, dude's deadly. Like, he has the stick handling, he has the shot, he has the assist. I mean, he has the hockey IQ. I mean, also just the fact that he's also somebody who can go down in front of the net and just like hack away,
Mm-hmm.
like, which is the most annoying type of player who like has the tenacity just to keep like hacking away at the puck until it goes in.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what's deadly about a player like that is you like kind of you lock in on that guy, and then you forget about the fact that usually there's a guy coming down on the other side of the ice
That he just
and then
passes to.
you have to make the decision, who do you like maintain, because usually when you're a goalie, you're taking up 3/4 of the net on one side, and then you need to turn over to the other side when the pass comes. And that's why you see the goalies when there's like 3-on-1 just like sprawling out, and they try and make the play, and then the guy just pokes it in for the goal. So
Yeah. So other than the goalie stuff, what was kind of one of the main things that impressed you, not only about his placement, but also his defense, his hitting as well? Because he kind of just does it at spots. He's not like the most aggressive enforcer, but he does it at spots where he needs to be. And there were certain plays in that highlight package too, where he's really creative as well. Talk about those pieces.
I think it's his ability to get the play going, like there's certain players that kind of are able to get on their horse and go and get everybody else to go, where like, and I'm talking about the whole thing where like someone will come down around, take the puck from behind the net, and just be able to like get everybody going down the ice, which when you have teams that are able to like transition at speed, that's something that just is something that's hard to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having a player like that on the Rangers, who showed this year that they're starting to get better, yeah, it's a big add.
And then finally, is there anyone in the league currently or past or present that you compare him to?
Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going.
Sidney Crosby or Mario Lemieux.
Mm-hmm.
I
Definitely.
think they're just the two guys. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a superstar for sure coming into the NHL, which, I mean, we always have one of those a year, but over the last few years, we've gotten really lucky with guys like McDavid and Eichel and now Lafrenière that we get a chance to watch their careers unfold. And that is it for this Friday show. We'll be back on Sunday for our weekly post show of the NFL, go through all of that stuff. Maybe we'll talk some NBA as well in that show. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Brandon. As always, great show.
Indeed. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yes, have a great weekend, and we will see you to finish off the weekend on Sunday.